Not a great day to be a sports fan in Beantown, or should I say Choketown. For the second time this spring, they've seen one of their teams, a top 2 seed in the league, get knocked out by a team that was an 8 seed from South Florida in 7 games.
Yeah, so the Miami Heat, a team that almost had their season end in a play-in game, the 8 seed, they're heading back to the NBA Finals after winning Game 7 in Boston. The Heat have the most finals appearances out of any team since 2006 with 7, but that's not my favorite stat when it comes to the Miami Heat. My favorite stat is this one. The Heat fans have gone outside and banged pots and pans at least 7 different times in 15 plus years. This is what we're talking about. I didn't know this was a thing, Jeremy. I didn't know this was a thing. So apparently every time the Heat win their conference or the finals, the fans go out and bang pots and pans in the street in designated areas. Ramos, one of our coworkers, of course, he had his in the car for...
Oh my, that's not him, by the way.
No, that's not him. A lot of Heat fans had it ready to go since Game 4, where they had to hold things off. And then, of course, then they were back in the streets. I mean, South Florida fans, you do you. You can take your shirts off and swing them around.
What are they going to do when they win the whole thing? I mean, the whole city's going to be pots and pans.
Exactly, more pots and pans. But South Florida, stand up. Right now, we're looking at the metro areas with teams in the Stanley Cup Final and the NBA Finals, of course, this season with the Heat and the Panthers. Now, the last time this happened was back in 2016 in the Bay Area with the Warriors and the Sharks. Now, the Cavs won. They beat the Warriors in the NBA Finals in 2016, and then the Penguins won the Stanley Cup in 2016. So not a good track record the last time this happened.
A great omen, but hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully for South Florida fans, it'll be a little bit different this time around. You love to see Jimmy Butler warming up in a Kachuk jersey and the Cats heading to the team plane with their Miami City shirts. So hopefully this will be better luck than back in 2016. And there you have it. The finals are set. It is Miami and Denver in the NBA Finals, starting with Game 1 on Thursday in Denver. It's the first NBA Finals matchup in the past 35 years, with both teams entering the regular season with 15-1 title odds or longer. The Heat were 24-1. The Nuggets were 16-1. It's going to be a fun finals that we have on tap. And for more on this, let's say hello to Showtime's Rachel Nichols. Rachel, the Heat punching their ticket to the NBA Finals after a dominant Game 7 performance in Boston, nonetheless. A lot of us thought that history might be made going for the Celtics, but hey, Jimmy Butler, he called it after last year's Game 7 loss for Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals against Boston, saying, hey, we're going to get it done, and they did it, Rachel.
It's pretty amazing to sit at a podium and say, we'll be right back here in this position next year, and we're going to get it done, and then be in that exact position. I mean, I don't know, Jimmy Butler should go to Vegas or something, because to be right back in that same Game 7 and to actually get it done is pretty remarkable. He was terrific throughout this whole series, obviously earned that conference finals MVP. Caleb Martin, again, man, just a fantastic performance under pressure, 26 points. An undrafted guy, as we've talked about over and over again. And the fact that this run, I mean, you talk about being an underdog in a postseason, they barely even made it out of the play-in. They were behind at the end of their second play-in game. So for them to advance to the NBA Finals is really fantastic, and to do it so decisively over the Celtics. Now, Jason Tatum did turn that ankle early in the game, but he still was able to play. And the Celtics in general just really could not get it done from 3-point. They were jacking up threes early in the shot clock. And the fact that Jaylen Brown had as many turnovers as he had field goals was a huge disappointment for Boston as well. So a lot of soul searching on the Boston side, a lot of merriment on the Miami side, but not much time to enjoy it, because they now, of course, move on to a very tough matchup against the Nuggets.
Yeah, next up for the Heat, I want to talk about that tough matchup with the Nuggets. Game 1 on Thursday in Denver. Rachel, in your opinion, how does this Miami team match up with a Nuggets team that just swept the Lakers in the West Final?
I mean, the biggest challenge is, of course, going to be Nikola Jokic. No one has been able to have an answer for him this postseason. And you've had some pretty quality players and teams that have tried to solve the Jokic problem and have not been able to do it. Now, we expect Eric Spoelstra to throw Kevin Love at Nikola Jokic just to help Bam Adebayo stay out of foul trouble. And that is going to be a key for Bam to be able to stay on the court and battle down inside. And then we, of course, expect Jimmy Butler to have his say as well. Aaron Gordon, we will possibly see defending him, and that will leave Jamal Murray to sort of move around a little bit. This is a talented Denver team. I think Miami is going to have its hands full more than it has up until this point in this playoffs. And one of the key things Miami has done is throw zone at its opponents over the course of this postseason, and that's not going to be as successful against Denver. The Nuggets eat zone alive usually. In fact, in their matchups against each other when Miami has used zone, it's Denver that has been faring well and scoring. So it's going to be a challenge for Eric Spoelstra, but that's why he's one of the best coaches in the NBA, and we expect him to go into the Hall of Fame. I expect to see some really, really hotly contested battles here.
Yeah, it seems like after every Nuggets series we're asking, how do they stop the Joker? What's the answer? I feel like we've talked about it, Rachel, so we'll see if Miami and Spo can come up with something. The Nuggets, they've been chilling, to say the least, for a little bit, just waiting for their opponent as the Eastern Conference Finals went to a Game 7. Denver with 10 days of rest heading into Game 1. Obviously, rest is a good thing. It's beneficial. But do you think maybe that much time off could potentially impact some momentum for Denver?
I mean, Michael Malone, the coach, was concerned that it would affect conditioning. That was one of his biggest red flags there. So he has been running them around in these 10 days off to make sure that they are still in game shape. Because as he put it, you play every other night and then all of a sudden you don't anymore. Your body just kind of relaxes in a way that they don't want. So that whole eternal rest versus rust debate, look, if you go into history and you see teams with more than 5 days off and you go and see if they play at home first, they have won these matchups 8-1. So it's normally an advantage, especially if you're the home team. Now, Miami has come in and won Game 1 on the road in every playoff series it's had so far. So this is going to be an interesting, like, an irresistible force and movable object situation with the way that these two teams are going in with the rest and the rust and all of that. And we'll see who prevails.